It's muted.
Mute.
Hey, welcome back to Revisiting the Mania, the WrestleMania rewatch podcast. I'm Carlos,
And I'm Maria.
and today we'll be revisiting WrestleMania 4. Now, WrestleMania 4 is one that had to start off with a heavyweight championship title tournament. Now, Maria, do you know why there was a championship tournament?
No, please inform me. I'm very curious and I really want to know.
Well, after this WrestleMania 3 match between Hogan and Andre, they actually continued the feud. So there was a lot of going back and forth here because I'm not sure if you knew, but there are actually two brothers that are referees
Two.
at this time. One's called Earl and the other one's called Dave.
Okay.
And you know what the only problem with that is?
What?
Is that they're twins.
What? Dun dun dun.
And so what ends up happening is Andre pins Hulk Hogan and because of the finish involving both of those twin referees.
Okay.
And then their feud continues because Hogan feels that he got screwed over and so forth. And because of that, they ended up vacating the title.
Okay.
But instead of having another match between them two, they just end up having this tournament.
Right.
So they end up having a tournament here that involves, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4,
How many people?
12 superstars?
What?
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's run this down here. We have Andre and Hulk Hogan, which for some reason they get a first match round by.
Okay.
They don't face each other until the second time.
Okay.
Yes, Raina, yeah, sure. Thank you. But we do have then after that we sorry about that. We're trying to maintain our composure after our friend gave us a little thing here. But we have the $1 Million Man DiBiase versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We have Dean Bravo versus Don Morocco. We have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Okay.
We have the Natural Butch Reed versus Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh, yeah.
And then the last one in the first round. Oh no, we have One Man Gang versus Bam Bam Bigelow.
Okay.
And then the last one in the first round, we have Rick Rude versus Jake the Snake Roberts.
Why you gotta be so rude?
So the first thing to start this off is Gladys Knight.
Okay.
Of Gladys Knight and the Pips fame.
Ooh.
Only there's no Pips with her.
Okay.
And she's here to sing America the Beautiful.
And she did an amazing job. It was wonderful.
It does. It was. I'm sorry. She did a great job. And I'm still wondering why we get America the Beautiful. I know there was like a push back in the days when we were coming up in grade school and things like that.
Right.
But we were getting America the Beautiful, because I remember when we were coming out in grade school, they were teaching us how to do America the Beautiful instead of doing, the traditional American Star Spangled Banner that we normally have now.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's set the tone. The year is 1988. And New York City's Rockefeller Center became a national landmark. Doppler radar was just invented, and everyone was rocking blue eyeshadow and leg warmers.
Were you?
Was I? No. But also, Cool Ranch Doritos and pasta salad were all the rage. I just have to give a couple of tidbits.
Okay. So, the first match. Oh, after this, we get Bob Uecker. For some reason, we wanted Bob Uecker to come back. I'm not sure if he enjoyed the money or he was a cheap celebrity for Vince to get.
Mr.
At the time, Mr. Baseball, Mr. I don't remember what his character's name was in Mr. Belvedere, but the guy who Mr. Belvedere worked for is back. So not only do we get Bob Uecker, but we get Vanna White.
Yes. I was excited to see her in this WrestleMania. I thought she did a really great job and was really excited to see her.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have recalled Vanna White that time. Watching this pay-per-view, I couldn't even remember if I had actually seen this live.
Okay.
So, if there's anyone out there that actually remembers how, I guess, in demand Vanna White would have been at that time, if you could please let us know in the comments.
Okay.
And by the way, if you are listening or watching us at this point, we do have an audio podcast. It does go live. If you need to get information on how to access that, don't forget to follow us at Revisiting Mania on Twitter, at Threads and Instagram, and on YouTube at Revisiting Mania. We also do post this on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So the first match we get is a 20-man battle royal.
Oh, 20-man.
Yeah. So. Oh, I did not know that.
Is that a tidbit about?
Was that an actual pictorial? Do you know, Raymond, off the top of your head?
So comments say she was in Playboy in 1987, so she was at the height of her powers. Okay, so we're talking about this 20-man battle royale, and Sam Houston is the first out, quickly followed by Sika. Who are you rooting for?
I think when this one came out, I really didn't have anyone that I probably was rooting for. You had the Hart Foundation, Jim and Brett, Young Stallions, who I don't remember at all.
Okay.
George the Animal Steel, Danny Davis from my last WrestleMania rewatch, WrestleMania 3, who I was a big fan of his way of getting the people over. Bad News Brown,
Bad News Brown.
Like you mentioned, Sam Houston, the Rougeau brothers,
Mhm.
JYD,
JYD.
yeah, the Bolsheviks, which is now Boris and Nikolai. So Nikolai is no longer teamed with. Thank you, Raymond. He was Young Stallions had Paul Roma, the best horseman ever, according to my friend Raymond, who posted that on Facebook comments.
Woot woot.
But yeah, the Bolsheviks now is no longer Nikolai with the Sheikh. He actually is paired up with Boris.
Okay.
Hillbilly Jim, Harley Race, the King, Harley Race, the Killer Bees, Cinca, and Pantera.
Buzz Buzz.
So at this point in time, the final two ends up being Brett and
The Hearts.
no, Bret Hart is the last one.
Okay.
Yes, according to Raymond, Roma was actually the worst horseman, the Rocky
Wow.
5 of the 4 horsemen.
That's
Can
a good
he
one.
still be the 5th out of the 4 horsemen? Let's put that all to the audience there. So Bad News Brown and Bret the Hitman Hart are the final two.
Okay.
Bad News Brown manages to beat Bret Hart, and instead of Bret Hart taking it in stride and congratulating Bad News Brown, he smashes the trophy. Bad News Brown, and completely because he's a sore loser.
Wow.
So
you guys who I'm rooting for in this 20-man fiasco?
Yeah, who would you be rooting for?
I'm actually rooting for JYD, so Junkyard Dog.
Okay.
And George, the Animal Steel. Surprise to everybody that's been watching us for the last few episodes. So like many of us hanging out, I thought like kind of curious because he was hanging outside of the ring for a while.
Yeah, I don't understand how Bad News Brown wins when George the Animal Steel never gets in the ring and is never thrown out over the top.
But also, just to note, like many of us hanging outside of the ring and watching while the drama unfolds, he was hanging out there for a little while.
Yeah, he was, which was still kind of weird because the refs are like, yeah, let's just go ahead and let him pull out people, and we'll still count them being eliminated, but we won't get George out of here at all.
Wow.
Oh, nice tidbit by my friend Raymond, who says that they used to call Bad News Brown's finisher the Ghetto Blaster. Hashtag racist.
Boo.
Yes, I completely agree.
I do agree.
Now, before we move on, I have to head upstairs. I forgot something.
Okay.
But can you continue on here and figure out where we're heading to in the second match?
Am I going live? Okay. To still talk about this. This is what happens when you all go live, everyone. So I did enjoy JYD. I thought that JYD was definitely on a roll and got tag teamed out of the ring. And then Bad News Brown wins, which was a surprise because when you are watching a 20-man match, it's kind of up in the air on who's going to win. So you have to watch that play-by-play to see who's going to win, who's in, who's out.
I'm back.
I mean, it really is a fiasco.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, Bad News, rest in peace, was also in international judo competitions, including a heavyweight and bronze medal in the 1976 Summer Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So just a curiosity to me as like a new wrestling watcher, I'm just really surprised at the amount of talent that you have during these shows. So
yeah, and I mean, I can think when we mentioned that the first WrestleMania rewatch we did with, the Iron Sheik was Olympic, actual, I guess it's the Greco-Roman wrestling. So, some of these are actual athletes, either they failed or got injured, and that injury took them out of actually continuing to play professionally.
Okay.
So, some of these guys, just go into the business just because they're like, hey, you look good and you have muscles. So let's see how that works out. And sometimes it does. Andre. So after this, we get Robin Leach, the guy you had mentioned that Lord Alfred Hayes reminded you of.
Yes.
Introducing the heavyweight tournament.
Thought he did a bang up job with introductions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Were you at this point in time actually longing to have Lord Alfred Hayes come back?
Was I longing? I can't say that I was, but I was very appreciative that we had Sir Robin Leach. So
okay.
Yep.
So the first match in this tournament is the Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus the $1 Million Man.
Okay.
Now the $1 Million Man at this point in time has kind of put like a little reward out there, especially for Andre, to get him the heavyweight championship title. And if you knew the $1 Million Man, money was no issue. Everybody and everything had a price.
Ooh.
So this match goes for 4 minutes 54 seconds.
Okay.
Now, Maria, when you saw these guys come out, I know you saw Hacksaw from last WrestleMania,
right?
And this was your first introduction to the $1 Million Man.
Yes.
Now, who was flanked with his bodyguard / kind of like manservant or butler?
Okay.
I think they really didn't say how he helped the $1 Million Man or what his job title was with him.
Okay.
But he also has Andre coming down with him as like his insurance policy.
Right.
So who were your cheers for?
Who am I cheering for? I'm rooting for the $1 Million Man and his luscious locks. I mean, that hair was definitely worth $1 million.
Oh, just the hair?
Just the, well,
so he should have been the $2 million man?
He should have been the $2 million man.
Nice. So no love for Hacksaw still, right?
No love for Hacksaw. No.
Okay. I mean, Hacksaw was I really wasn't cheering for him.
Okay.
But it was fun to say his catchphrase of Ho.
Ho?
Yeah, it reminded me of Thundercats because, you know, when Lionel we used to do the Thundercats, he'd also go Ho.
Ho?
Yeah.
Ho?
Yeah. So there's some DiBiase's outmatched by Hacksaw, and there's some back and forth. And Hacksaw tries to rally for sorry, it's just the comments my friend is putting on there, and some of them aren't
hilarious.
Some of them are hilarious, and you guys can't see it because I it's not
you'll see them later.
Yeah. So he goes back and forth. Hacksaw tries to go for his finisher, which is kind of like what ends up being like some type of tackle. But Andre ends up tripping him up, and then he ends up getting pinned by the $1 Million Man. Okay. Now, you were happy. I know since you were going for the $1 Million Man, were you happy with the way the results and he got his pin?
I was pleased with the pin, and I was very excited, full of enthusiasm. What about you?
Oh yeah, I definitely was a fan of the $1 Million Man. You know, when that was coming out.
Okay.
Because, you know, who doesn't want to cheer for some guy who has money when you're a kid? And then you're like, wow, I want to have that much money so I can end up buying things.
Interesting.
I'm going to go.
Okay, so with that, we're going to go on to the second match. And when we're talking about the second match, like you said, rooting for the $1 Million Man. Who was it? You were saying Ted DiBiase with Virgil, his butler, his valet.
Yeah.
And Andre the Giant in a really nice suit. I feel like that suit was like pinstriped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it was plaid.
Was it plaid?
It's hard to tell because it's like you're not watching it in that like TV, those big CRT TVs. So it's like you try to watch it now with the big, you know, widescreen TVs. The resolution's better, but they don't upscale, or, you know, Vince doesn't bother or has bothered to remaster any of these WrestleMania of the past.
Okay.
So it's hard to actually tell what the actual design is because they don't really get a good zoom in. But yeah, I see what you're talking about.
Okay. And I mean, so who ended up winning that match? Was it?
It was $1 Million Man.
The $1 Million Man. Okay.
Yeah. And then we move on to our third match, which is the second match of the first round of this heavyweight tournament, which has Dino Bravo with Frenchie Martin versus Don The Rock Morocco, no longer going by Magnificent.
Okay.
Don Morocco, who now has superstar Billy Graham in his corner. Now, Maria, this is your first time seeing Frenchie Martin.
Frenchie Martin.
And Don Morocco's new valet or manager, superstar Billy Graham.
Okay.
Do you have any first thoughts of superstar Billy Graham or Frenchie Martin or anything that sticks out for you?
First thoughts, I can't say that I do, but I'm definitely rooting for Dan Morocco.
Don Morocco?
Sorry, Don Morocco.
It's like, I think you did a great job on WrestleMania 2, but now
I'm still learning, everyone.
We had DYJ and Baby Blue Smith. Now we have Dan Morocco.
I'm like, the older I get, the more like my mother I become. So Don Morocco, The Rock, in his tie-dye t-shirts. And then I just saw that Bravo's outfit. He reminded me of like a can of Sprite.
So did it make you thirsty?
No, it didn't. It just reminded me of a can of Sprite.
Oh, okay. So at this time, then we get these two guys coming out. Dino Bravo. It looks like there was almost a botch by Dino Bravo, but Morocco saves it by pretending to do an elbow drop.
Okay.
Dino Bravo gets thrown over the ropes. Morocco gets his head stuck in between the ropes. The ref gets bumped, which means he takes a fall because he gets sandwiched in between them. And then Don Morocco wins via disqualification because Bravo pulls the ref into that sandwich, and the ref actually is one of the rare instances where like the ref is like, hey, you use me to help you take some of the impact of this spear or collision. I'm gonna disqualify you.
Wow.
Where if you see it here modern times, like you'll see a bunch of times where the bad guy, the heel, would actually pull in the ref in the way, and it's like the ref forgets who pulled him in the way. There's only 3 of you guys in that ring, so obviously it's not the guy who hit you because he's making his way towards you. So it had to be the other guy who pulled you in his way. But this is the only ref that actually does what you're supposed to do. And technically, in the ref handbook that the WWE tells us, either by their commentators or
is there a handbook?
No. Oh, okay. I mean, if there's a handbook, that just means that Vince has it somewhere.
Okay.
And he just makes it up as he goes.
Okay.
But given to us as an audience by the commentators, which is Jesse the Body Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon, they're the ones that tells you can't get your hands on the ref or the ref will disqualify you.
Okay. I'm a gal that likes some rules, so I'm like, if there's a rule book out there, I'm curious to read it. Yeah. I thought this match was okay. I also heard them reference a Terminator, which is pretty cool. So again, just a sign of the times. So with that, now we're on to, what is it, match number 4?
Match number 4, yeah, but match number 3 in this 3 rounds. Okay, we got a comment here from Anthony
Jones. So his valet was named Virgil as a slight by Vince McMahon to Dusty Rhodes' real name Virgil Runnels.
Oh, okay.
And in WCW, they changed his name to Vincent as a slight to Vince McMahon.
Oh,
good tidbit.
Thank you.
Yep.
So at this point in time, we get to the third match of this fourth match total, but third match in the first round of the heavyweight championship tournament.
Okay.
Which I am seeing that you might be torn because it's Greg the Hammer Valentine with Jimmy the Mouth of the South Hart versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. This match goes for 9 minutes 12 seconds. Maria, who were you cheering for?
You are correct. My heart was torn, and I'm rooting for Ricky in this match. But I'm just saying, like, how did the Hammer lift him up like that? I mean, holy crap.
It's tough when you're looking at the physique of the Hammer.
Okay.
And yeah, at this point, Ray points out on our Facebook live stream that the Valentine was washed up at this point in his career.
Wow.
I think this was maybe like either close to 20 years that he's been wrestling.
Whoa, 20 years.
Yeah. So, he's been going for a while. And I mean, we've always seen how the Hammer's been not in the best of shape when you consider like the other guys he's been facing, like the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan at times, and the Macho Man at times. When you compare those physiques to his, it's one of those things where you're like, yeah. Especially coming up with Ricky. Ricky was still facing Ricky at this point in time.
Okay.
Ricky was also in great shape.
Wow. Hammer, I feel your pain.
Yeah. So Ricky starts dominating him with a couple of arm drags, which I haven't seen anyone else do an arm drag. Like Ricky the Dragon has been doing arm drags for the past 3 WrestleManias now. This would be the 4th one. If there's any move that Ricky the Dragon got down was the arm drag.
The arm drag.
Yeah. And then let's see, the Hammer, he may not have it physically, but his ring psychology is up there. He's still able to sell the moves. He still does those feints that Ric Flair later adopts to doing too, where he steps forward or he just stands there and then he flops down.
And those were pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and he did it in a way where sometimes some of the heels, they have to like insult somebody in the crowd or do something that the crowd doesn't like in order to get those jeers, not cheers, jeers, Jeers.
I love that you talk about that, because now that you're talking about that, I remember how when we were in that one match, or we went to go see Luchas, that one of the wrestlers grabbed a can from the fan and threw it into the audience.
Yeah.
So, like you said, jeers, not cheers.
Yeah. What? So, and the Dragon gets distracted at one point in time by the ref trying to break a hold that the Dragon has, and tries to go for the turnbuckle splash. The Hammer reverses it for a roll-up pin. We aren't able to get any type of other like angle at that point in time, but I think the announcers had like some type of script in there because they're already saying that the Hammer pulled the tights.
Wow.
But normally, if they're able to get that in some type of camera angle, they'll show it to us.
Okay.
To try to sell it, to try to convince us more that Ricky was robbed.
Wow.
But they don't try to do that here. We're just led to believe by the announcers that the Hammer won by grabbing the tights.
Oh, and like you said, I love how the Hammer just falls over. That match took a little bit to build up. And I mean, how did he defeat him? I can't say that I approve of this win.
Oh, no, it's just, the Hammer moves out of the way, and then he just rolls up the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and during the roll up, he has his hand by his bottom.
Okay.
But like I said, you're led to believe that he grabbed. Usually, you pull up, supposedly from the waistband, to get more leverage on the pin.
Noted.
Yeah, that's what they tell you. I've never been pinned. I've never been in a professional wrestling match, so I don't know if that actually hurts or actually helps with any type of leverage. If you're a professional wrestler and you're watching this, first of all, thank you But if you can actually tell me firsthand how this helps you with any type of leverage, please drop it in the comments.
Science.
Now, were you happy that with the way that the hammer won?
No, I wasn't. I was like questioning. I'm like, how was he defeated? Lots of questions.
Okay.
So, yep.
All right. So the next match we have here is the Macho Man Randy Savage with Elizabeth versus the Natural Butch Reed, who
Okay.
has Slick in his corner. This match goes for 5 minutes 7 seconds.
Wow.
Now, this is your second viewing of
Macho?
I believe, yeah, both the Macho Man and the Natural Butch Reed.
Okay.
Who were you rooting for? I'm pretty sure it was Macho Man, but I still want to ask you just to make sure.
Well, yeah, I'm rooting for 6'2" Macho Man. One again, as always, I love Macho's cape and Elizabeth's outfit. Just my take on it. And yeah, like I said, rooting for 6'2" Macho.
Okay. This match starts off with Butch Reed in control. Macho Man tries to rally a couple of times. In this instance, the suplex is reversed and during one of his rallies, and he's down again. Macho Man tries to regain control after reversing an Irish whip.
Mm-hmm.
Butch Reed tries to go for a move off the turnbuckle, but is distracted by Elizabeth. Which is funny because during this whole match, Jesse is just telling you that there's no way that Elizabeth is a better manager slash valet than Slick because Slick is able to get involved and that Elizabeth will just end up running off.
Wow.
And because of Elizabeth being so beautiful and such great eye candy for the Macho Man, he distracts, or he is distracted by Elizabeth. Savage gets up, throws him off the ropes. He nails the flying elbow drop, and then we get 1, 2, 3 pin and win for the Macho Man.
Yeah.
Maria, were you happy with the way this match went?
That's me. Yeah, I thought, and I mean, surprising because you hear my excitement. I thought the match was okay. But I thought Miss Elizabeth's jewelry was excellent. So there's always that.
Mm-hmm.
And just to note, for anyone listening or watching, out of my curiosity, the natural is the same height. So he's also a 6'2" gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't remember like them going eye to eye.
Okay.
Where you can see if they were actually, because sometimes Vince tried to exaggerate some of the people's tail of the tape measurements, like we brought up, like the weight, especially where like King Kong Bundy, where he says he's 450 pounds.
Yeah.
Someone's height might be exaggerated too.
Yeah.
So,
but me standing at 5'4",
mm-hmm.
I was kind of curious. I'm like, they seem pretty tall. Let me look that up.
Mm-hmm. Good point. So, this one we have the next of the first round matches of this heavyweight title vacancy tournament.
Okay.
The one man gang once again with Slick versus Bam Bam Bigelow making his WrestleMania debut with Oliver Humperdinck. This match goes 2 minutes and 56 seconds.
Wow, that's a short match. Yeah. What?
So, Maria, who were you rooting for now that you kind of see these two behemoths, the one man gang and Bam Bam Bigelow?
I'm rooting for Bam Bam. I mean, Bam Bam was agile for, like you said, 390 pounds. Also, just out of curiosity, I mean, he was a hero. Mm-hmm. Not sure if our audience knows, but Bam Bam once sustained burns up to 40% of his body. He actually ran into a burning building and saved 3 children. So I thought it was interesting that he had flames on his suit during this match.
Maybe he still felt that he was on fire somewhere.
He was on fire because he was pretty good during that match.
Yeah, he was. That's Sir Oliver Humperdinck.
What?
Did they announce it that way? Because I don't remember that actually being announced that way, Raymond. So this battle of the super heavyweights ends up going to Bam Bam. because this is a weird one. Bam Bam falls out of the ring as Slick pulls down on the ropes.
Yes.
And then the ref is doing the count out. And it's interesting because we also had a count out, I think, in like recently in professional wrestling. Or it wasn't really a count out, but like yesterday during SummerSlam,
Okay.
for some reason Brock Lesnar was trying to get a count out win versus Cody Rhodes. Uh, and this one in particular, Bam Bam is on the apron, and normally the ref stops counting when someone gets on the apron because he knows they're gonna come in the ropes.
Okay.
And that's normally when the referee stops his count. But the ref keeps counting on this one, and yes, unfortunately, that is correct,
That is
Raymond. Bam
unfortunate.
Bam was one of the best. Yeah, he was very agile, and yeah, just like other people throughout this wrestling revisit industry that we've come across that do have issues not only with painkillers but other substances. He also, I believe, was a pretty good actor in his appearances in Boy Meets World.
What? Bam Bam was in Boy Meets World?
I believe so.
What? We have to watch those episodes or that episode.
So, so this one kind of made me mad in a way because I know the ability of Bam Bam Bigelow, and I think this is one of the few instances of seeing one man gang. For me in my memory. Oh yes, I still haven't watched that, but thank you for bringing that up, Raymond. They did a Dark Side of the Ring episode of Bam Bam this season. Maria, I'm not sure what if you know about this show that they have on Vice.
Okay.
It's called Dark Side of the Ring.
Okay.
Basically, these are not like upbeat stories of wrestlers, either of specific wrestlers or incidences that wrestlers were involved in.
Right.
So I'm not sure if you ever want to venture down that path. Maybe sometime once we're caught up with these WrestleManias, if you want to continue venturing down wrestling history, we can go down and watch those.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just waiting for all of them, and I think the season should be done, or whatever the first half of the season should be done before I catch up on those.
Oh, that's good to know. I mean, we all know that Vice isn't known for their lighthearted content, but their content is really deep and really great. So yeah, I mean that might be one that we catch up on.
Uh-huh. And then the next match on here that we have, which I believe is the final match in the first round.
Okay.
Of this heavyweight championship tournament is the Ravishing Rick Rude.
The Ravishing Rick Rude.
With Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Okay.
Versus Jake the Snake Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
With Damien.
Okay. What do you think about this match?
This match goes 15 minutes. One of the rare matches that go to time limit. And actually, this was one of my favorite matches so far to begin this WrestleMania 4 rewatch.
Wow.
Maria, this is your first introduction to the Ravishing one.
Okay.
We've seen Jake the Snake here for about the past 2 WrestleManias. I know you are a fan of Jake the Snake too.
I am. And his snakeskin boots.
Yeah, now he has the snakeskin boots that I had mentioned. And then, oh, yes. The one man gang would let her become a king, the African dream. That there's a lot of people that fit the description that he was a white guy from Chicago. But thank you, Raymond. And then another note by our friend Raymond. I bet Maria enjoyed Rude's gyration. And you are correct, sir. She did.
Oh my goodness. If you are watching us now or later, I would definitely take a moment to look this up via YouTube or like on a clip or something.
Mm-hmm.
Also WrestleManias are on Peacock, but I mean, Rick Rude, the Ravishing is right. I mean, he's 6'3", and I'm rooting for Rick Rude.
Yeah, and then
during this match.
So we'll break it down. One of our comments here from Anthony again is correcting me because I had them cross. I actually had thought that Vader was in major pain, and then Bam Bam. But thank you for clearing that up. I should get that more cleared up. So Bam Bam was in major pain. I knew, and I just crossed him.
That comedy Major Pain?
Yeah, that movie with Damon Wayans.
I like that.
Where he plays a drill sergeant or a sergeant in, I believe it's in the Marines.
I watched it last year in 2022.
And he ends up doing some ROTC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
For some kids, and he ends up, I believe the Hillary, the actress who played Hillary in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is in that
good
movie,
catch, Anthony. I would actually rewatch it. I watched it several times.
Yeah. So this match goes the whole 15 minutes.
Okay.
There's some good selling by Rick Rude here, being scared of a snake in a sack, which, I mean,
there's a joke in there.
There is a joke in there. Someone will probably cut this audio and
not appropriate.
Yeah.
There's a snake in my boot. No,
there's a snake in this sack. Rick is doing more of the work psychologically, going outside, not wanting a piece of Jake the Snake, especially when Jake the Snake is signaling for his DDT. Yeah. Yes, Raymond, I agree. Rude was a great worker, but he's known for one of his best.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he needed the money because unfortunately we know how the Ravishing One passes away later.
I mean, now that we're talking about that, let's just say this. Let me just say this.
Mhm.
Jesse Ventura says, "Can you imagine how many women in the world are worried about him?" And I was like, "Yeah, because I'm one of them. So stop hitting that face."
Yeah, Rick is dominating and wearing down Jake the Snake. Jake starts to rally. Rick has him in a reverse chinlock with a job. Rick has him in a reverse chinlock, but then he ends up reversing that with a jawbreaker.
Okay.
Jake tries to go for the DDT. Rick manages to fight it out again. And then at this point in time, Rick manages to get a pin on Jake. And as he's using the refs for leverage, the ref calls it at 2.
Ooh.
Did he win?
Did he?
No.
What?
I just told you this match goes for the time limit. This match goes all 15 minutes and it ends up falling short.
You had me in
He's 1 second short of the win. And because of the time limit, the match is called a draw. Nobody wins, nobody advances. So this means that the one-man gang has a bye to the 3rd round of this heavyweight tournament.
Wow. I mean, I just want to note, we're talking about handsome that Ravishing One was, but Bret Hart actually said that in spite of the Ravishing One persona, Rude was a devoted family man who never took his wedding ring off, even during matches, and covered it with tape, which I thought was super sweet.
And that's what a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers end up doing. The ones that want to show off that they are, because some of them don't want to have the women know that they're not available,
right?
So they won't wear any type of things. But that's good, and it's also sad because of such a, like Raymond mentioned in the comments, that he was such a great worker,
right?
And we didn't get to keep continuing as other wrestlers have continued to have a career into their late 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Wow.
I'm sure Rick Rude would have been finding a way to continue his career if it wasn't as a wrestler, as a manager, or maybe even as a booker, or people who create the storylines in the back. Wow. That's what a booker is called.
A booker. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, not to be confused with Booker T.
Booker T. Washington, the actor.
Am
I wrong?
Yeah, you're wrong.
Okay.
Sorry. The next match we have is not a tournament match. It's a random match that Vince decides to throw in here. kind of like to give like a little breather to the people in the tournament. It's the Ultimate Warrior making his WrestleMania debut versus Hercules with Bobby the
Hercules.
Brain Heenan.
Ooh.
Maria,
Yes.
this was your first introduction to the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
And you've seen Hercules, I think, for the past 2 WrestleManias.
I'm glad you talk about this because I was going to ask, is this the first introduction to the Ultimate Warrior?
WrestleMania wise, yeah, he does. He has been wrestling for some time.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm rooting for the Ultimates. I mean, also, if I ran down all of those steps, I would pass out. So
I just got tired just watching him run down those steps.
I'm like still running.
And I think I told Maria, based on my memory, that this isn't the furthest that the Ultimate Warrior runs in one of these WrestleManias.
Wow.
Just to give you a little preview of, I think it's the WrestleMania, if it's not 6 or 7, the one they have in Toronto where they have a long walkway that the Ultimate Warrior runs all the way down there, and you'll see how long it is.
He's like the Energizer Bunny, still going.
Yeah.
Still going.
So just like I told you, the Ultimate Warrior runs down these steps full speed because why not? Let's go ahead and see how much insurance Donald Trump has. Yes, I said Donald Trump because this is taking place in Atlantic City at the Trump Plaza Casino and Hotel.
You're right. Sign of the Times. He and first wife Marla were in the audience.
Yeah. And then you also see him like taking a couple of pictures and some autographs. And he has like some weird like way of holding his pencil or pen, whatever he was using to get sign some pictures, headshots that someone randomly had. Who comes up to him and he's like, "Hey, Donald, I have this random headshot of you. I for some reason knew you were gonna be here at WrestleMania. Can you sign it for me?"
Interesting.
Yeah. So, you were going for the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes. And then
oh yes, Hercules Hernandez was the first time I remember Vince getting rid of a last name.
Wow. And we talked about that during our last episode, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for bringing that up, Raymond. Yeah, there's not a lot of time that Vince is already starting to like trying to make his mark on the talent that either he's acquired from different territories that he's bought out or he's managed to get the talent away from.
Right.
So this match goes for 4 minutes and 29 seconds.
Wow.
What did you think of the Ultimate Warrior?
I mean, I thought the Ultimate Warrior was amazing. I saw him running down those steps, saw his outfit, was definitely impressed, and I'm looking forward to watching him in more matches.
Okay, and you will get him in more matches. At this point in time, Anthony, thank you very much for commenting here on our YouTube live stream. The Ultimate Warrior and Sting were partners in the smaller promotions that were called the Blade Runners.
What?
Thank you for that fact. Did you know?
That is awesome.
You remember who Sting is, right?
Sting?
Yeah.
Like the singer?
No, not the singer. There you Anthony. Thank you, Anthony, for that comment. Sting is a wrestler. You might have seen him a couple of times where I've watched AEW. He's currently in AEW right now. He paints his face up right now as the character from The Crow.
Oh. It's coming back now.
I mean, it's okay for you. It's okay for you to say that you don't remember because this is the whole point of this podcast.
I don't recall.
You're
I'm a noob.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's good to know. But we'll have to fix that because unfortunately, I think Sting doesn't make his WrestleMania debut until like later.
Pretty cool.
So Raymond also in the comments are a Facebook Live post.
Was Blade Runner the name before the movie came out? Or, I mean, if you are hearing or watching this and you'd like to comment, let us know because I'm curious. I can't recall when the first
let me
Blade Runner movie
check
came
that out while here. When the Blade Runners were actually running around here because I think.
I mean, I was also super excited. We saw another Vanna White appearance during this match, so that was pretty cool.
Now, were you like kind of excited to see Vanna White? I know that you've been like a Wheel of Fortune fan.
Right. Yeah, it was. To see her at that time, I just didn't realize how long White has been around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool to see her. I thought she did a good job, solid
Mm-hmm.
job, with introductions and comments and being a commentator. So it was pretty cool to see her. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Here. No, at this point in time, I did manage to do some quick research because yes, Raymond has pointed out in our Facebook Live chat that the Blade Runners tag team was part of the Mid South here. But doing some quick Wikipedia and research for this, since my wife needed to know the answer, the tag team of the Blade Runners were conceived back in 1985.
1985.
Yeah, which is Steve Borden, which is no Sting's real legal name,
Okay.
and Jim Hellwig, which is rest in peace, the Ultimate Warrior's native, government name.
Jim Hellwig. Oh,
Yeah.
that's an awesome name.
So, uh, this match,
Okay.
were you excited with the way that the finish is? Because it's mostly like the Ultimate Warrior, not like relenting and just coming at Hercules Hernandez. I like to say he wasn't really selling any of the moves, which means that he wasn't reacting. He wasn't like, if Hercules slammed into him, trying to clothesline him, he wasn't going down. He was just standing upright and just taking it.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid match.
Mm-hmm. So at this point in time, let's see.
So does that take us to
this
match?
this puts us at the end because it looks like Hercules takes 10 in the corner, but manages to get an inverted drop and gain control. Hercules performs Hercules performs a German suplex. Both wrestlers' shoulders are down, but at the last minute, the Warrior gets his shoulder up, so Hercules loses, but is unaware that he loses.
Okay.
Because of that. And then Hercules gets very sore loserish and starts choking the Warrior out with his chain. The Warrior manages to get out of it, and then at that point in time, he runs away.
Okay.
We also, during the interlude here, as we're gonna start building up to the Hulk Hogan versus Andre, the Giant rematch to start the second round of the heavyweight tournament.
Right.
We get a Sugar Ray Leonard sighting.
Okay.
So Maria, do you know who Sugar Ray Leonard is?
I do. He's a boxer.
Okay.
You're solid. That's so funny.
Yeah, I didn't think that you would actually know who Sugar Ray Leonard was. So yes, he was one of my favorite boxers growing up. I think I've talked to Raymond a couple of times, and he mentioned Sugar Ray Leonard as one of his favorite boxers. I'm sure he'll correct me in the Facebook Live chat that we have if I am incorrect.
Okay.
Now, Maria.
Yes.
Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, Andre the Giant will have Virgil and Ted DiBiase in his corner.
Okay.
This match goes 5 minutes and 22 seconds.
Wow, kind of short.
Yeah. Did you have any particular favorite? I know you are a fan of Hulk Hogan.
Yes, but I'm rooting for Andre.
Okay, you still continue to root for Andre like we had established in WrestleMania 3.
Yes, I mean, he's working the ring and he's making Hulk look great. I mean, the Hulk was dropping bows, and Andre is such a force of nature. He started to give him a gentle choke, and I was like, wow, I'm definitely impressed with Andre. So I've never rooted for anyone to get choked until this match.
Oh, okay. Is it because it's Hulk Hogan, or if Andre was facing somebody else, would you have been?
It was just really impressive. I mean, Andre has, like I said, he's just a force of nature. So he was just like bringing out the best in Hulk during this match.
Yeah. Oh, Raymond points out that Sugar Ray Leonard is one of his favorite of the Four Kings.
Okay.
Do you know what the Four Kings of boxing are?
I actually don't.
Okay, so the Four Kings of boxing.
Okay.
And Raymond, if I am wrong, please feel free to correct me. We have Sugar Ray Leonard. Okay. Tommy Hitman Hearns.
Okay.
Roberto Duran.
Okay.
And Marvelous Marvin Hagler. So I think maybe your dad would be more familiar with these other three boxers.
He probably would. My
So,
dad is definitely not only a boxing fan, but because of the year that he grew in, he was born in 1957. He really enjoys old school boxing and will still catch up on old school boxing when he can, here and there, on YouTube. So yeah.
Got another comment from my friend Raymond. Hagler looks like he milked that. Would you also say that about Antonio Tarver? Because I also believe that he did look like a milk dud. So this match goes 5 minutes 22 seconds.
Okay.
Hogan comes in hot. Andre starts beating him down. Hogan starts coming back. It's like a back and forth of that. Hogan starts to rally.
I really love when Andre clocked Hulk with that chair.
Yes.
That was pretty cool. I mean, what do you think about the match?
I mean, the match went as far as it could go because I think we had already established that. I mean, Andre really couldn't go as far.
Okay.
Deep into matches to give us more, and I'm not sure. At this point in time, if Hulk Hogan was going into filming some more of his movies,
okay,
because he does come up with ones later on, like Mr. Nanny and Suburban Commando, or some other of those lighthearted kid movies where there's some rough and tough guy, which ends up needing to take care of kids for some reason.
Isn't there another one like that?
Well, The Rock ends up doing one like that.
Arnold? The Rock too?
The Rock does one as he starts his movie career because he has a that one where the Tooth Fairy. Exactly.
Super cute. Yeah.
So this one mostly chokeholds holds here, and then they both use the chair, and because they both use a chair, they both get disqualified by the referee. Hogan celebrates a double disqualification win because why not, Hulk Hogan, for 5 minutes?
Yeah. So no one gets a belt.
Thank you, Raymond. I knew it was one movie. There was a movie that he was filming that was called No Holds Barred in 1988.
Wow.
You know who is the antagonist in No Holds Barred? He's a very famous actor.
Okay.
You would have seen him in various movies over the years.
So curious. Who was it?
It was... Oh, his first name escapes me, but his last name was Lister. He's known as Debo from Friday.
No way.
Yes.
You're making me want to revisit some of these movies.
His character's name in No Holds Barred. Thank you. Tiny Tom Lister.
And his monobrow? Did he have just the one brow?
I'm not sure if he had a unibrow.
Rocking a brow like Frida.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony, for also posting that in our
Tiny Lister Debo. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he also stars in like other. He makes a appearance also in The Dark Knight as the guy who's telling one of the other people to give him the detonator because he can take it from him, and he ends up being the voice of reason because
like 6 degrees of separation. Yeah, so, I mean, it's a small world.
I do not recommend that you watch No Holds Barred.
Is it not a good movie?
It is not a good movie. I mean, if someone wants to rewatch it, feel free to do so, but I did not like that and felt robbed when I first watched that when I was either 8 or 9 years old.
Aww,
so I don't think my mind's gonna change.
Little Carlos is like, this movie is
garbage. And they actually do end up bringing that character Zeus, the human wrecking machine, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Oh, what he also wrestler as Z Gangsta. Thank you very much for
WCW as the Gangsta.
I remember him, Lister. But I thought it went into Zeus too. But yeah, thank you, Raymond, for adding that here. So after Hogan's celebration now for 5 minutes, we move on to the second round of our heavyweight tournament, which has Ted DiBiase
Million
with
Dollar Man.
the $1 Million Man with no Virgil because Hogan takes him out from the previous match.
Okay.
So he's out there with no one in his corner versus Don, The Rock, Morocco,
The Rock.
with the superstar Billy Graham in his corner.
Okay.
This match goes 6 minutes, 8 seconds.
6 minutes.
Maria, knowing that you were a fan of DiBiase
Okay.
from our first round coverage,
Right.
and you are also, I believe, a fan of The Rock.
I am.
Not Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Also a fan of him.
But Don Morocco.
Both The Rocks.
Who were you rooting for?
I'm rooting for Morocco. I've never seen anyone get hit in the esophagus until this match.
Well, yeah, I think you missed that whole thing when I was recapping why Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was going after Macho Man for WrestleMania 3. Because of that whole thing where he throws Ricky the Dragon Steamboat down on his larynx first on those barricades that they had back there.
Okay.
So if you had seen that, that would have been the second time you would have seen someone getting hurt.
Well, I mean, I guess I need a wrestling ring because boy, did the $1 Million Man get a stretch. I was just like, what? Wow. I'm surprised that he pinned him for a count of 3.
Yeah. He gets in here. Morocco's gaining momentum. DiBiase catches him, drops him on the ropes, like you said, and then he gets the pin. This was one of those kind of things where it's like an open and shut case. Yeah, was it a clean win? No.
Okay.
But it was one of the few matches that we had so far that have ended in a pin.
Wow. Okay.
So Raymond in our Facebook Live points out the dramatic speech therapy sessions with Ricky Steamboat vignettes were hilarious.
So does that take us to match?
That takes us to
11.
Yeah, of this pay-per-view. One of the longest pay-per-views we've had at this point because of the tournament. This ended up having a total of 16 matches.
A lot of matches.
Yeah, it's not a 2-day event like we end up having later on with the modern WrestleMania era, but we have Macho Man with Elizabeth once again versus Greg the Hammer Valentine with Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart in his corner. This match goes 6 minutes 6 seconds. Maria, who were you rooting for? Because these are two guys you also love.
For this match, I'm rooting for Macho. I mean, the energy in the ring is electric. The Hammer is a pretty solid wrestler, and I get to see Macho Man throw the Hammer into a small package.
Yeah. That's the only time you've been happy to get a small package.
Oh, no.
So this is a match here where Macho Man is in control until he gets thrown out of the ring. He gets chopped by the Valentine, and then he gets thrown into the barricade. The Hammer starts dominating Macho Man from that point on until he gets the backbreaker put on him. Once Macho Man is able to recover from backbreaker, he starts to rally. He hits his famous double axe handle fist from the top rope, nails him, and goes for the pin. At that point in time, Jimmy Hart jumps on the apron. The ref stops, gets distracted. Macho goes back on the offensive.
Wow.
He goes to the top and tries to double axe handle move again, but is kneed by the Hammer. As he comes down from his double axe handle. This is when the announcers try to sell you that not only did the Hammer get him with his knee, but for some reason, Macho Man was still able to nail his double axe handle move. And that's when the Hammer falls down in one of his famous flops, like Ric Flair.
Yep. He got hammered.
And yeah, the Hammer gets up still as he didn't take the brunt of the double axe handle like Macho Man took his knee.
Okay.
Tries to get him in the figure four. While he's in the figure four, that's when Maria mentions that Macho Man reaches over, gets him in a small package for the 1-2-3 pin and win. Maria, were you happy?
I mean,
because I know how you love Greg the Hammer, that nugget, as you have put it sometimes.
He looks like a little nugget.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was really one of my favorite matches. Like I said, this match was electric. I thought they both did a great job, and I really enjoyed this match. So, yep.
Okay. Well, a question from our Facebook Live.
Sure. What's the question?
Maria, do you like the Hammer or the Snake better?
You know what? Actually, I think I like the Hammer better. But I mean, TBD once we start watching more of these, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So, we get another break in the tournament to get another match. That does not have anything to do with the tournament, but it is for the Intercontinental Championship.
Oh.
We have Brutus now going as the barber after he helped cut off Harley Race's hair.
Not the beefcake?
Beefcake. He still keeps the Beefcake moniker, last name, but he now added the barber.
Brutus
and
the
comes
barber.
out with shears. Not only because he's a fan of gardening, because he likes cutting hair. No, that's not accurate. He just has it because he's now the barber. Versus the Honky Tonk Man with Jimmy Hart and Peggy Sue. I guess we needed to try to sell more of 50s rock nostalgia here by adding Peggy Sue.
Yep.
So, what did you think about that, Maria?
Well, first of all, I'm full of sheer excitement. Brutus Beefcake looking like a weird Barbie, a la SNL alum Kate McKinnon. But I mean, surprise everyone, I am rooting for Honky Tonk in this match. The Honky Tonk Man is giving me Adam Rose vibes with the Entourage, which we talked about during our last episode. I really love that Entourage bit that he has. But I was really surprised at the end of this. So I don't know.
Oh, okay. So you want to get rid of? You want to get straight to the start and start talking about this match. Now, so the barber starts off hot, hits an atomic drop, smushes the Honky Tonk Man's hair. Brutus gets a little confident in showboaty and goes for an elbow drop, but the Honky Tonk Man moves and regains control. Honky Tonk Man is dominating and drops Brutus for a little bit. Then Jimmy Hart gets involved while the ref is distracted. Honky Tonk Man signals for the shake, rattle, and roll, but doesn't go for it because he's too busy showboating. During the first attempt, Brutus fights back and then applies a super hold on the Honky Tonk Man. Jimmy Hart, once again, putting his managerial skills to work here, gets on the apron and knocks out the ref with his megaphone. Brutus thinks he won because the Honky Tonk Man is out. Brutus signals for his shears at that point in time, and Jimmy the Hart runs under the apron. When Brutus finally gets a hold of Jimmy Hart, he then proceeds to cut his hair, while Peggy Sue and the two refs try to get the Honky Tonk Man back up. The barber wins by disqualification because the ref actually knows that Jimmy Hart hit him. So because of the disqualification, the titles do not change hands. Maria, were you okay with the way this finished, or were you
okay with the way it finished? I mean, like you said, the Beefcake defeats the Honky Tonk Man, and that was an okay match. Yep.
Okay. All right, here. So, what match are we on here?
That takes us to match 13. Okay. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about, I don't know if it's called a vignette or...
Yeah, those little things are called vignettes when they have like the interviews. Like Mean Gene's been having interviews throughout here. Anything hasn't been like of note. It's either been having Vanna White try to go on, try Vanna White in front of like a tournament style type of things with the wrestlers' names and just trying to make her pick.
Right.
She's steadily picking Hulk Hogan. The second time they come to her after the second round ends.
Okay.
Mean Gene is nice enough to point out to her that Hulk Hogan is not in the tournament anymore, but Bantamweight is like, I don't care if he's in the tournament or not. Mean Gene, Hulk Hogan is still my pick.
She did say
That's
that.
how white hot Hulk Hogan was at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember Andre choking Mr. Baseball, Bob Ueckert, Mr.
Yes.
with his hands, and I'm like, his hands were massive. Yep.
Yeah. He was a hit with the ladies because of those massive hands.
Wow. Go, Andre.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that takes us to match 13, which is a 6-man tag team match.
Yeah, we have the Islanders,
Okay.
Haku and Tama, with Bobby the Brain Heenan, versus the British Bulldogs with Coco Beware as their tag partner.
Okay.
Now, this is Bobby the Brain Heenan's not in-ring debut, but I get in-ring debut for WrestleMania because he hasn't had a match in WrestleMania officially.
Right.
He has been involved in taking bumps. Yeah, when like someone goes like that and you're like, oh, I fell down, So what did you think? Who were you rooting for?
Who was I rooting for in this 6-man match? I mean, I love Coco Beware's outfit, first of all, when he comes in, looking great. I also love Matilda the Bulldog, and if you haven't seen Matilda the Bulldog, look her up. She's a cutie pie. But I'm rooting for Haku and Tama, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Although I can't help but root for Coco. So that was a tricky match. But again, I was rooting for Haku and Tama.
Oh, and Tama?
Tama.
Yeah. Okay. Couple of comments here. We'll take here one from my friend Raymond.
Okay.
This whole event is BS. In real life, Tonga / Mang and Haku, the many monikers and names and gimmicks that the wrestler comes up with, would beat up the entire roster in one night. You give the entire roster too much credit, my friend. We know it would end up faster, or it would end sooner than one night.
Whoa.
That's how dangerous that man was in real life. Another comment here from our YouTube live. The Honky Tonk Man and Jerry the King Lawler were cousins. Okay. Thank you for bringing out that tidbit, Anthony.
I do have a question, and I'm not sure if you know this, but while I was looking at just some information for this match, their debut was in 1988 and they disbanded in 1988. Is that factual for Haku and Tama? Were they only together as a tag team for like 2 years?
The Islanders were tag teams for a while.
Okay.
Now they've gone through different iterations.
Okay.
As far as their name is concerned.
Okay.
But they coming off and on as a tag team here, mainly because one of the things that is, as Raymond has pointed out, I'm pretty sure in a jesting manner, but also kind of pointing out that Tonga does have a lot of issues here, and some people do become intimidated by him. So sometimes people in the locker room would not be feeling particularly safe with him there.
Okay.
So eventually he would leave. But I mean, this.
But also interesting. Ray calls out that Tama is part of the.
Yes, the famous Anoa'i
family
of Samoa wrestling, where people are related or they're not related, but they're still saying they're related.
Related to Handsome Roman Reigns
and the Usos. Okay. Yes, they also were the ones that came out. I think, if I remember correctly, Tama and Tonga or Haku are the ones that actually bestow that lei.
Wow. That is
that Roman Reigns now wears as the tribal chief for the current bloodline in the WWE.
Yeah. I mean, we are revisiting the Mania, but we're also, speaking the truth. So good call on that, Ray. Thank you. So does this take us to, or what do you think?
We haven't finished this going through the match. Were you Tama and Tonga? Were you a fan, or were you cheering for the British Bulldogs with Coco Beware?
I think we talked about that. Definitely a fan of them. Of Haku and Tama. This was a good match. It was one of my favorite matches of this WrestleMania. I am also surprised that the Brain can run in those tiny red shoes. For anyone who recalls watching this match, and they said that Matilda was vicious, but she wasn't.
Yeah. So Raymond's already corrected me, and we'll get to that comment in a little bit. But yeah, Bobby the Brain Heenan, as I had pointed out, I believe in the first WrestleMania, or if not the second one, does have a history as actually being a performer.
Wow.
So those are probably like his original wrestling boots he wore there.
That's impressive.
So, but he not only did he wear that, but he wore one of those suits that you normally wear when they're training canine dogs, like that big, thick, padded jacket and the pants.
I thought it was like a straight jacket.
Well, it's the straight jacket, but it was kind of like a modified one. I don't know why you would wear a straight jacket if back then if you were doing canine training. But yeah, that was the reason for that, is because he said that Matilda was such a vicious dog, he needed to wear that. Raymond points out that maybe I was incorrect. I'll have to look into that and post it in the comments later. But I believe it looked like Tama to me. So it might have been Tama, but he points out that it could have been Alpha and Sika. So I'll have to check back, or someone knows off the top of the head, please feel free to leave it in the comments that we have. Here, they were the ones that probably presented Roman Reigns with the tribal chief lei. So this match here goes for 7 minutes 30 seconds.
Wow.
Davey Boy starts off the match, and as we probably see later on, Davey Boy is just a powerhouse in this match. Haku comes in, starts getting control. Davey Boy makes the hot tag to Coco Beware after getting worn down. He gets a couple of shots in until he tags out to the Dynamite Kid. Haku regains control, and then he tags in Bobby the Brain Heenan, who shows off his wrestling chops. Tama gets tagged in at that point in time and is in control until he goes for a splash off the top ropes, but Dynamite gets the tag to Coco Beware. Coco rallies until Tama gains control and tags in Haku. Haku wears down Coco. Tags in Bobby the Brain for one more chance here. Bobby gets worn down by Coco until the Islanders get in, and that causes the Bulldogs to also get in. And classic WWF now trope, the ref does not get distracted by the heels coming in, but he gets distracted by the Bulldogs coming in and trying to help out their friend. This leads to the Islanders beating down Coco Beware, and then they slam Bobby the Brain Heenan on top of Coco for the 1-2-3 pin and win. Maria, what did you think about that?
Oh my goodness. Like I said, I thought this was a really good match. I thought they all did like a great job. And the Islanders and the Brain defeating the British Bulldogs. And I thought it was on point. Yeah, I thought this was a good match.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We haven't gotten to one of your favorite matches yet, right?
There have been a few. I've had a few favorite matches.
Oh, okay.
One with Macho, where I felt like it was electric. So I've had a few favorites. This was definitely a solid match, though.
All right, cool.
Yep.
All right, yeah. So far, I've only had that one, and that's been the 15-minute time limit draw.
Okay.
As we're nearing the end of this pay-per-view, we're reaching the
drum roll
final semifinals of it, because of the disqualification of the $1 Million of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. The $1 Million Man has no one to face until he gets to the final.
Okay.
So the only one left with a match is Macho Man Randy Savage versus the One Man Gang, who has Slick in his corner.
So does this take us to match 14?
Yes, this will be match 14 of 16 of the pay-per-view. So we're nearing the end.
Okay. I mean, we see another appearance with Randy the Macho Man Savage and Elizabeth, which I'm like, how many matches is this
Yeah,
guy
and
in?
he's actually had 3 wardrobe changes at this point in time. We're entering the third one.
Okay.
I did not make a note of it here, but I know Elizabeth has also had 3 wardrobe changes as well.
Yes.
And I think in this one, this is the black evening gown dress. She wears a blue evening gown dress and I think a purple one.
Okay.
So far.
Yeah.
If I'm incorrect about one of the colors, please feel free to let the comments now. But I'm very positive about the blue and the black one.
Okay. I mean, if you're asking me who I'm rooting for, I'm just gonna start. I'm rooting for Macho. Although I give it to the one man gang, he looks like a super tough teddy bear. And I see he's wearing his wrestling galoshes. So.
Yeah, he doesn't have normal boots. It does look like he's wearing wrestling galoshes on there. And you said he looks like a big baby.
Right.
Yeah, so the one man gang, even though he looks like a baby, has control of the match until he goes for a splash and charges into the corner.
Okay.
Macho gets him outside, double X handle from the top rope. One man gets Macho in a 2-handed chokeslam. Slick goes over and starts to harass Elizabeth.
Yes.
To get the Macho Man's attention.
Right.
As he gets the Macho Man's attention, he runs back over to his wrestler side for the one-man gang.
Right.
Macho Man cuts him off at that point in time. He throws the cane over to the one-man gang.
Right.
At that point in time, Elizabeth is distracted. The ref, for some reason, the ref is... I mean, it's not really for some reason. We all know that the ref is just really trying to maybe get in with Elizabeth and trying to give her his hotel room or his phone number or something like that.
Oh my!
But
scandalous.
Nah, I just. So once the one man gang has Slick's cane and he starts trying to hit Macho Man with it, it is at this point in time that Elizabeth puts her valet / managerial skills to work, and she's like, "Hey ref, look behind you," and he does, and he sees the one man gang using the cane and the disqualification because of using the foreign object.
Right.
But that doesn't stop the one man gang because he's also a sore loser, and he hits the Macho Man a couple of times. But that doesn't stop the Macho Man. Once he gets out of the ring, he comes back and hits the double axe handle to the one man gang as he's talking over the Slick. And the one man gang falls on him and squishes Slick. And that's the end of that match.
So I guess you could say that instead of the Macho Man getting canned, he got caned. Ta-da.
Not your best pun, babe.
So that takes us on to the 15th. Thanks, Ray.
All right. Thanks, Raymond. Have fun. Let me know what movie you go see later. All right. The last, second to last match, because if the Macho Man is advancing to the finals, he needs a little breather, guys.
He does.
So we get the tag team titles on the line. We have a brand new tag team, Demolition, Axe, and Smash, with Mr. Fuji.
Okay.
Versus the team of Strike Force that we saw last WrestleMania with Tito Santana and Rick Martel. This match goes 12 minutes and 33 seconds. Maria, this had Tito Santana and Rick Martel. Yeah. I know you were a fan of Tito Santana.
I am.
Were you torn when you saw Demolition? You're like, hey, I think these are the guys I'm going to be rooting for now.
I mean, well, as far as being torn, that's a good call on that one. I'm rooting for Strike Force, and I like their tag name. But Demolition came in like a wrecking ball.
Oh, okay. It was those outfits that looked like some bootleg S&M ones.
Yeah, and they wrecked the Strike Force. Even though Tito pulled off a great Boston Crab, which I've never heard of that before.
No, that was not Tito.
It wasn't Tito? Who was
it? Tito came in and he does a flying elbow smash.
Oh, okay.
But the Rick Martel, I know him as the model, so I'm trying hard not to say his moniker yet because he's not the model yet. He's just Rick Martel.
Rick Martel. Okay.
But he is. If you, I mean, you might have been confused because of their outfits. They're both wearing the exact same thing, but the way you could tell them apart, I'm not sure if you were paying attention.
Okay.
Tito Santana has a sombrero on his trunks.
Oh wow.
And Rick Martel has the Canadian flag on his short. Yeah. So that's how you were able to tell the difference. So Rick Martel goes, and if we're gonna get to the finish here, we're gonna go. Rick Martel gets axed in the Boston Crab.
Okay.
And then he gets Smash comes in for the breakup, and Tito also comes in for the breakup. But as the ref has been doing this whole pay-per-view, they go and get distracted by telling the good guy he can't come in yet.
Wow.
And while the ref is distracted with Tito, Fuji jumps in to also get into the foray. At that point in time, Tito manages to break away. He heads to Mr. Fuji. He gets his hand on Mr. Fuji. He knocks him off the apron. The cane that Mr. Fuji has flies out of his hand and lands in the ring. Smash uses it and hits Martel. Okay. While Rick Martel is falling, he also falls into the ref. But while he falls on the ref, for some reason, Martel also falls down face up. At that point in time, he gets pinned. We kind of wait a little bit, and then someone wakes up the ref, or the ref wakes up on his own, and then 1, 2, 3 pin. We have new champions.
Wow.
New tag team champions. Strike Force is done. Maria, how did you feel?
I mean, I think this was a good match. It was a solid match. So, I mean, I would say if you haven't watched it, take a look. They were pretty good. And what do you think about it?
At this point, I'm not sure exactly where this was heading.
Okay.
I know that Tito Santana had been making some headway, as me and Ray have been pointing out for the past 4 WrestleManias,
right?
Or in the first one when we talked about it.
Okay.
Tito Santana was a very good worker.
Yes.
He was the Intercontinental Champion. So I think the tag team was starting to run its course.
Right.
Eventually, when you're telling these stories, because there's no seasons like there is like if you're watching something on traditional television or on a streaming service where you get to have a break.
Okay.
And try to move characters in a different direction.
Right.
So since this is a 365-day business,
okay,
that Vince is now running. You have to start making these changes, and sometimes certain teams kind of get a little bit stale,
right?
And people need to mix it up. So at this point in time, Vince thought that it was time to change it from face or a tag team that the crowd was for, and give it to a new batch of heels or bad guys because of the way that they won. It wasn't a clean finish, so we know more than likely that Strike Force is going to get a chance later on down the line at a shot to get their titles back.
And then during this match, I don't know if you noticed, but there was some rando that popped out on Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker.
Well, that's after when we start the final match.
Yes.
Right. So we start the final match after this with Randy Savage versus with Elizabeth versus Ted DiBiase for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Drum roll.
We get the special guest announcer, which was Bob Uecker, who's been with us all night. That's when he starts coming down, and then Seth Green's lookalike doppelganger, the time traveler, because I'm sure he wasn't old enough to be there, pops out with a cigarette in his mouth to start hugging Bob Uecker, and
wearing a vest.
Yeah, where's the security on this?
I'm not knocking the vest because I, as a strange child, also like to wear vests. So
Yeah, so
A
he
sign of
comes
the
down
times.
there, and then Vanna White finally joins him. Bob Uecker finally gets to embrace Vanna White.
Yes.
And the match gets started here. This match goes for 9 minutes and 27 seconds.
Whoa.
Maria, now another match where you were probably torn.
Yes.
You were a fan of Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
It's okay.
And Macho Man.
Yeah.
Who were you rooting for?
I'm definitely rooting for Macho Man.
Mhm.
But I mean, let's talk matches. Savage had wrestled for three prior matches.
Right.
And DiBiase at this point had wrestled for one fewer. So I mean, they were definitely pulling their weight during this WrestleMania.
Yeah, Macho Man has definitely been a workhorse,
Mhm.
and he's had a very steep hill to climb.
Right.
He's had to endure Slick getting involved. He's had to go deal with the wily veteran Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Right.
And he's had to pull out all the tricks that he knows over his career up to that point.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good match.
Yeah,
Hulk walked in looking super fresh. I think he did one match prior to that one.
Definitely.
Yep.
So I mean, he just had that 5-minute match that he had with Andre, so he was fresh and ready to go.
Yeah.
But let's set this up here. So Andre, match starts off, and anytime that Macho Man's getting started or building up some type of offense, Andre's always there, either to trip him up or to get his attention.
Okay.
At that point in time, at one point, Macho Man gains control. He needs Ted DiBiase when he comes off the rope, and Ted DiBiase falls out of the ring.
Okay.
Macho tries to go for his patent double axe handle off the top rope, but who's there to stop him but the 7'4" giant Andre? Macho's tired of Andre the Giant getting in the way, so he tells Elizabeth pretty much to probably go get Hogan.
Right.
But we're not sure because the mics weren't good enough. So Jesse's just like, look at her. She's running away, gorilla. So once again, doubting Miss Elizabeth's managerial competency.
Okay.
But she goes and she runs back. And that's when she comes back with the real American, the immortal Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
To come and even up the odds. Hulk Hogan eventually grabs a chair to try to fend off the giant.
Right.
At this point in time, Ted DiBiase has Macho Man in the sleeper hold as we continue to focus on it. While he's in the sleeper, Macho falls to the rope. Andre tries to get involved, and that's when Hulk Hogan shows up.
Ooh, dun, dun, dun.
And once Hulk Hogan chases off Andre, DiBiase goes back to try to get control.
Okay.
He tries to go to the top rope, and that's when Macho Man is able to muster up any strength and energy that he has left and throws him off the top rope. He tries to go for his patent elbow drop, and he misses. At this point in time, DiBiase tries to lock in his $1 million dream sleeper hold.
Okay.
While the ref is distracted for some reason by Elizabeth. Once again, we all know the reason, but we're still led to imagine that we don't know why. Hogan comes in and he hits Andre. He hits Ted DiBiase with the steel chair. DiBiase falls down. Excuse me. Macho Man sees what happens. He goes to the top rope and hits his flying elbow drop. Boom. 1, 2, 3. We have a new WWE heavyweight champion.
Woo!
Maria.
The crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
They
did. But as the event ends, we know, the last WrestleMania, we had Hulk Hogan celebrate for like maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
Unfortunately for this one, Macho Man only gets to celebrate for 3.
Right. Yeah, it was
But
kind of sad.
I still think there was a good celebration. Were you happy with the way the match ended up?
Yeah, I was definitely satisfied with the match and him taking the belt. So yeah, I thought it was good. Way to end this WrestleMania.
Okay.
Yep.
Was this like something that you were excited? Were like you've been watching the build up here? Macho Man, Intercontinental Champion, and now he's the World Champion.
Right.
Did you feel vested in the way the character came out on top?
I was. Like you said, it was definitely a good character build up. I thought that the match ended well. And I was pretty satisfied with this WrestleMania. Although, from what I see, some people are not pleased with this WrestleMania because there were just so many matches. Also, just to talk numbers,
Mm-hmm.
as far as attendance,
Yeah.
I think there were over 19,000 in attendance,
Right.
with a total of over 1.4 million in admission fees.
Wow.
Yep. So, I mean, but let's be real, this total is actually down from the previous year's event, which sat at just about 93,000 in attendance. So, big difference.
Yeah, so I guess Vince was going for they paid this amount of money and I got 90,000 people in the arena. Why don't I just charge a little bit more and then get lesser people in
Yeah,
there?
and you're right. The pay-per-views were actually up during this WrestleMania at 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
Um so which was reduced from 8.0 from the previous year. So, yeah. What was your kind of sum up of this WrestleMania?
Well, this WrestleMania, as much as I'm a fan of the Macho Man, did we need to see him wrestle so many times? No.
Okay.
But if there was anyone else who could probably do it in that arena,
Mhm.
it probably would have been either Ricky or Tito. But we all seen that Macho Man was just white hot, and this is pretty much like the forming of what a tag team becomes with Hogan and Macho Man, which is called the Mega Powers.
Ooh.
So um, anything with Hulk Hogan involving Hulk Hogan was super white hot. So all you had to do was just get Hulk Hogan to like maybe go over there and call you brother,
Oh,
and that guy was good for like maybe a couple of months.
wow.
So, do you have any favorite matches as we end? Like, if you had to make any recommendations?
Recommendations, definitely the 11th match was one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So the 11th match was with Tito.
The Strike
Um,
Force, Tito Santana,
you know, it was with Randy.
Randy Savage, and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Yes.
Yes, that was one of
So
my
that was
favorite
one of my
matches.
favorite matches.
Yeah, that one was my favorite match. The 15-minute time limit draw between Rick Rude and Jake the Snake.
Okay. Yeah, that was
Do
a
you
good
have any
match.
other one?
Also the six-man
The
tag
6-man
match.
tag with Demolition
Yep.
and British Bulldogs and Coco Beware.
Yes. That was
Okay.
also one of my
Anything
other
else?
favorites. I think that's it. Yeah.
All right, guys. So as we're winding down here, thank you very much for joining us on our YouTube live channel, our
Mhm.
Facebook live channel. If you're watching this, also we put this out on Twitter as well. Revisiting the Mania. Our next show, we're hoping to have this out as we revisit WrestleMania 5. Will probably be on August the 16th. Please feel free to click subscribe, hit the notification for the bells so you get up to date information. As we sum up WrestleMania 4, a WrestleMania rewatch, Revisiting the Mania, we recommend that you watch this 15-minute time limit draw between Jake the Snake Roberts and Ravishing Rick Rude. We recommend that you watch Randy Macho Man Savage versus Greg the Hammer Valentine and the 6-man tag of Demolition. No, wait, that wasn't Demolition.
Wait,
The
the
6-man
Island
tag.
Brothers.
No, that was the Island Brothers. My apologies, everybody. The the Bobby the Brain Heenan with the Islanders versus the British Bulldogs and Coco Beware.
Yeah.
That's yours, but I was actually gonna say that my favorite match was the Demolition one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a tag team. So we once again another tag team match that I love during WrestleMania.
That's true.
That's 4 in a row, guys. I recommend a tag team match. But yeah, the Demolition one versus Strike Force is the one that I also recommend. As always, stay safe. Thank you for watching us and have a great night, everybody.
Have a great night.